In this video, we will continue to tour the art room created by Willem van Hecht, in his masterpiece Apelles painting Campaspe. A brief recap of part 1, we went over the group of people in the foreground, which include Apelles, Alexander the Great, and Campaspe. We also covered the first 4 paintings, in the upper left portion of the back wall. Now let's move down to the next section, the lower left. The first painting in this section is called Peacock and Cockfighting, by Paul de Vaux. Like the painter, Frans Snyders, who painted the work 2 rows above, Paul is also an expert in drawing animals. In fact, they are brother-in-laws, and have trained together. To the right of the peacock and cockfighting, is Guido Reni's The Death of Cleopatra. Cleopatra was the last queen of the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt. After Julius Caesar was assassinated, and Rome was dragged into a civil war, Cleopatra made the fateful decision to team up with Mark Antony, the eventual loser in the war. When the inevitable came, on August 10, 30 BC, Cleopatra committed suicide by a poisonous snake. Legend has it that she allowed the snake to bite her right breast, although in this painting, the left side was bare. Let's move on to the next one. This one is called Emmaus Pilgrims, by Paul Brill. According to the New Testament, after the resurrection, Jesus walked among 2 men on the road to Emmaus. They did not recognize him, until much later at the dinner table. Here we can see 3 figures on the left side of the painting, so it could be Jesus and the 2 men. There is also a longer name for this painting, Landscape with the Pilgrims at Emmaus and Allegory of the 2 Flocks. Again in the New Testament, Jesus mentioned 2 flocks, separate now but will eventually come together as 1 flock. Here we can see 2 loosely organized flocks of sheep, walking towards the same destination. Common belief is that he was referring to Jews and Gentiles, uniting under Christianity. Now let's move on to the next row. This one is called Apollo and Daphne, by Francesco Alboni. This is a famous Greek mythology story. Daphne is a beautiful nymph, minding her own business. One day, after Cupid just killed the great python, and was feeling pretty good about himself, Apollo scorned and looked down on him. Being greatly offended, Cupid shot 1 arrow at Apollo, and a reverse arrow to Daphne. This created the effect that Apollo would greatly fall in love with Daphne, but the latter will forever try to avoid the former. We can see Cupid here, and Apollo chasing Daphne here. At the end, Zeus turned Daphne into a laurel tree. Moving down, I must apologize that I have no idea about these 2 small paintings. If you know what they are, please leave a comment, and I will forever be in your debt. Fortunately, I do know about this next one. It's Battle of the Amazons, by Peter Paul Rubens. It depicts the mythological battle between the Athenians, led by Theseus, all male, and the Amazons, a nation of all female warriors. The story goes like this. Theseus abducted Antiope, an Amazon warrior, and brought her back to Athens. Though Antiope detested him at first, she eventually fell in love with and married Theseus. Thus Antiope became the first and only Amazon to have abandoned the Amazon tribe to get married. The Amazons attacked Athens to rescue Antiope, and though they succeeded, Antiope refused to leave her husband. In a fit of rage, the Amazon leader killed Antiope, and made any reconciliation impossible. Eventually, the Athenians won at the end, and the Amazon leader, Mulpedea, was killed. Moving on, again, this painting at the top, I do not recognize. The painting at the bottom, is Venus in the Forge of Vulcan, by Felice Broussard-Saucy. Venus, or Aphrodite in Greek, is the prettiest goddess. Vulcan, god of fire and metalworking, or Hephaestus in the Greek pantheon, is the ugliest on the male side. These two happen to be a couple. So the story goes that Venus will forever be cheating on Vulcan, and as long as Vulcan will be upset about this, we will have volcanoes on Earth. This next painting is the Israelites Gathering around Joseph's sarcophagus after the crossing of the Red Sea, by Franz Franken II. It's the famous story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. We can see in the background, the Red Sea is closing up, therefore destroying the Egyptian army who were chasing them. The Israelites are gathering around a sarcophagus, that of Joseph's. There is a remarkable story in the Jewish tradition. Joseph died in Egypt, and the Egyptians put his remains in a metal casket, and set it in the Nile so that its water would be blessed. When Moses was about to lead his people out of Egypt, he wanted to find and bring Joseph's sarcophagus to the Promised Land. So Moses stood on the bank of the Nile and chanted, and Joseph's coffin, though in heavy metal, floated up. Moving further along, this next painting is called Diana, and her nymphs on the point of leaving, and it's a collaboration between Peter Paul Rubens and Jan Bruegel the Elder. In part 1 of this series, we covered a painting on the same subject, by Domenico Zampieri, so I won't repeat the mythology of Diana and Actaeon. For this painting, Rubens painted Diana and the nymph figures, while Bruegel painted the landscape and the animals. The next two paintings, one seems to depict a seduction scene, and another, a market near the ocean, both of them I cannot recognize. Again, if you have any information about either of these, I would greatly appreciate it if you could help me in the comment section. The lower right painting, however, is Flowers in a Vase, by Daniel Zegers. Zooming out, as you can see, we have covered roughly half of the paintings on the wall. We will continue in a follow-up video, to discuss the rest. So, stay tuned.